the mic.
Get on the mic.
Just get on the mic. Get on the mic, Mike.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Get on the Mic. That's where you put me in front of a microphone and I talk about some of the more interesting things that have happened throughout the world of entertainment this week or whatever else I feel like talking about. Before I begin with the program today, I need to ask a favor. I'm not going to be having a small YouTuber spotlight this week. While I do have a few channels I might look at in the future, I really need help from this channel's viewers. I need people to point out some smaller channels for me. You just can't search small YouTubers and expect to find anything on YouTube. Until I start getting some more links and suggestions, I'm going to turn the segment of small YouTuber spotlight maybe into a monthly or bi-monthly segment. This has just been a really long week, and it's been hard to really go, into deep diving into YouTube to search for other channels. So if you have channels that you would like me to look at, if it's your channel or a friend's channel or just a smaller channel that you really like, in the comment section below on this podcast, please put the links to those channels down there so I can take a look at them. Whenever you go looking for stuff on YouTube, it always likes to throw up the big popular stuff first, and good channels could get lost that way. And though I've ran across some, and I still have some I'd like to look at, some I may group together because a lot of the channels, what I'm finding is some of them, like for example, if you put together a lot of the people that like to do their Blu-ray hauls or unboxings or whatever, a lot of those channels, a lot of them are kind of the same. So I may put some of those together like that. But if you know of a channel, I'm looking for mainly channels about movies, TVs, TV shows, video games. I like comedy, things like that, things that I'm interested in. If you know channels like that, again, please put the link in the description below. And like I mentioned just a second ago, this has been a long week, and it's not even near over yet. It really started Monday. We could say Sunday. I sat through the horribly predictable WWE pay-per-view on Sunday, and I was right about 99% of what happened on that pay-per-view. I was bored, and I'll talk more about the WWE Network here in a bit because I've got a main story about them, or at least part of them. But my week this week has been crazy. Monday was just wall-to-wall work for me. And then I got a tiny nap on Monday, which was nice. But then I uploaded or tried to upload a video before I went to Bill's house to play a game over on his channel. And so I get home and the video's hasn't even budged yet. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I noticed that my computer's Wi-Fi, it's not seeing the Wi-Fi. And I'm like, oh, great. So all my other stuff's working Wi-Fi wise. My phone, my boys' tablets, I have an Ethernet, I'll get to that in a minute, had an Ethernet connected to my Xbox 360. So it's like, well, it just must be the little thing I have plugged in that's supposed to be my Wi-Fi. And so Tuesday I go and get one of those, and I get home and I fix it, and it's working and great, and I'm real happy. So then after work, I get my boys, and they come over, and my oldest says his tablet isn't working. Well, it wasn't seeing the Wi-Fi. I'm like, what is going on here? So I spent, I don't know how long, finally getting everything to work. But then the 360 wasn't working. It wasn't seeing the Ethernet cable. And then I tried doing the Wi-Fi, and it wasn't seeing it. I'm like, what is going on here? So anyway, the boys came over for a while. I hung out with them. and went back to their mom's. And so then I came home like, I'm resetting everything. So I reset it, but then it won't come back up. I'm like, come on. The modem wouldn't come back up. Like, what is going on here? So I call AT&T, and the first lady I talked to was really nice. And she, was trying to help, and she had to transfer me to IT, which they weren't so nice. Of course, they go through the whole thing. Did you try this? It's like, guy, it's like, look, I'm having a week, and it's Tuesday. It's like, I've tried everything. Trust me, I've done all the stuff. It's like, can you run your diagnostic just to see what? And they didn't want to run the diagnostic. They can run a diagnostic through your line and test it and see if what's showing up and what isn't, but they wouldn't do it. So as I'm talking to him on the phone, the modem all of a sudden boots up. What the heck is going on? So it boots up, and I noticed that, I guess when it did this reboot, it gives it another identity and another password, which is stupid. So then I have to deal with that as I'm talking to this guy on the phone that's honestly being kind of condescending with me, because he's like, are you in front of this? Are you in front of that? I mean, he was just all over me. Well, I'm running between the computer from the modem upstairs to the Xbox. I'm trying everything. Finally, I get this computer going, get the internet to link to it. Awesome. And then I check my phone. Nothing went wrong with it. Or no, I did have to do the phone this time. The first time I didn't, but this time I did. The boys' tablets I didn't look at, but I was up to 360 while I'm trying to talk to this guy. I'm like, just let me try this. And that way we can figure out. I couldn't get the Ethernet to work on the Xbox, but I finally got the wireless to work, and I'm like, screw it. I said, I'm happy it's just going. I want the Ethernet to work because it's a little faster, but, I was just like, I'm tired of talking to this guy. I'm tired of working on this stuff. And then I'm just like, look, it's working. If something else goes wrong, I'll call you back. But I'm tired of talking to you. And especially since you're not being much help. So I hang up with that guy, and everything's working. I go check my kids' tablets. I make sure that I get them going. They're fine. That was easy. Learned a lot about those tablets, let me tell you, on how they work. Because they're these tablets where there's a parental mode and a kids mode. So you got to go back and forth and set things up in the parental mode, and then make sure they're working on the kids mode. And, because I'm not going to give my kids free reign on a tablet, let me tell you. I allow them the freedom they earn. Let's put it that way. But yeah, man. And then, it's just been a week. Yesterday I had to go out of town to see a movie. I went and saw Leave No Trace. I haven't got a chance to work on my review for that yet. And after I record this, since for some reason Unfriended didn't get a nationwide release, Decatur didn't get it, so I got to go all the way to Springfield. Thankfully, I can go see Equalizer 2 before it. They're having a 4 o'clock screening on preview night, which is weird. But I'm like, hey, if I can do 2 today and only have to suffer through Mamma Mia tomorrow, I'm okay with that. So, and I hope I don't suffer through it. The first one was stupid, though, so I'm expecting more of the same. I just watched it for the first time the other day, and I'm just like, yeah. It took me like 3 sessions to watch it, and I was like, is it only been a half hour? But yeah, so that's been my week so far, and it's not over yet. Saturday, I'm going to St. Louis very early in the morning to see Teen Titans go to the movies. I'm excited about that, but man, I'm going to have to get up at like 6 in the morning to travel to St. Louis to do that, to get there early enough to make sure, I get in and all that. And then when I come back through Springfield, I may go see something on the way through there too. So I'm gonna see Sorry to Bother You, I believe is what it's called. So yeah, it's a busy week so far, and plus I have tons of stuff to do here at home. So between my work, my hobby work, and just regular home stuff, yeah, I'll have to sleep when I'm dead. So yeah, we got a lot to cover on the show today. You're gonna wonder if this whole show is what is DC doing, but being that they've made a bunch of announcements before Comic-Con, and I'm recording this before Comic-Con, so I'm sure there's going to be some announcements after. There's going to be a lot to talk about, and also something got announced, or some news came out after I made my notes, so I'll be adding even one more story to this. So here we go. What is DC doing? We're going to be talking about the Birds of Prey. We're going to be talking about a Batwoman TV series. Again, we'll be talking about Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie because some news came out about that. We're also going to be talking about Shazam, an update to the DC Universe streaming service. That's a quick one. The news story is Henry Cavill talking about the Zack Snyder cut. And then also, who does Superman want to fight? We'll talk about that too. Plus, we'll be talking about some Marvel comics. Marvel is tempting me to buy comics again. And then a little bit of a change here in the program. We don't talk about sports a lot, but you guys know that I'm a big MMA fan. So we're going to be talking about Conor, Khabib, and the World Cup. Also, in a couple of rant sections, I'm going to be talking about something else to Wrestle's CM Punk episode. And also, I want to talk about buzzwords and phrases when it comes to the internet and YouTube. So yeah, a lot to talk about today. So first, what is DC doing? I need a jingle for that or something. When it comes to DC, there's a lot of news has come out. We talked about Birds of Prey. Last week we talked about this movie possibly being R-rated, but there is no real news on that. Then again, Comic-Con is this weekend, so we'll probably know more after that, and I'll talk about it next week. What we do have, some new information about some of the characters that are going to be in the movie. So far, we have learned that Black Canary, Huntress Cassandra Cain, who's the fourth Batgirl, and Gotham City Detective Renee Montoya are involved in the movie. The villain of the movie is still unknown, but whoever it is will apparently be a character, a Gotham character that has never been on the big screen before. I didn't have really a lot of time to think, who could have been. I will say, though, there goes my theory about Poison Ivy being the villain. But honestly, I still think she's going to be in the movie. As well as Barbara Gordon as Oracle, and maybe with that, the Vacation Joker cameo that I mentioned last week. The movie is rumored to start filming in January of 2019. On to the next story. What is DC doing? Because the CW doesn't already have enough DC superhero shows, they are developing a show based on Batwoman that would debut in 2019 if it's picked up. It has already been announced, though, that the character is going to be appearing in the annual crossover event with the other DC shows that are on the CW, Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl. DC's official bio for the character is this. Inspiration can happen anywhere, in a classroom, a theater, or in the comfort of your own home, but for Kate Kane, inspiration struck in the most unlikely of places, a dark, dingy Gotham City street. Moved and motivated by an encounter with Batman, Kate donned a utility belt and joined the ranks of costume crime fighters in Gotham City, and she became Batwoman. And also, as many of you know already, Batwoman was the first openly gay DC superhero. Next story, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie. The news just won't be stopped, apparently. It has been announced that the movie will be hitting theaters on October 4th, 2019. So honestly, that's a fairly quick turnaround, but it is a smaller budget movie. I believe it's something around $50-60 million budget. So smaller budget. It looks and feels like it's going to be a more intimate movie, which I'm actually cool with. The official title has been announced as well. The imagination isn't really being stretched much here. It's simply titled Joker. There's no word on what the movie's rating's going to be, what, if any, source material that it will draw from, or if other characters such as Batman will be in it. I'd like to see Warner Brothers and DC go R-rated with this one. Use this movie as an experiment to what kinds of movies that you can make with the DC franchise, what you can get away with, things like that. I think it would be a smart move. A lot of people, though it didn't make the movie great, having the R-rated or unrated, whichever it was, cut of Suicide Squad, people seem to dig that. If DC is going to be dark, you might as well be dark. They've been arguing about R-rated DC movies for a long time. Whenever Batman Begins and The Dark Knight and all them were coming out, even Christian Bale was saying he wanted to make an R-rated Batman movie. I don't think you have to go Deadpool R, but you could go more violent and more dark with a city like Gotham. I'd love to see Batman in this. In showing the character, I would show as little as possible. Make the character the unknown criminal nightmare that they see him as. Don't get a big name actor to play him. Don't even really have him speak. Just let the character be the mostly unseen myth. I think that would be a cool way to use the character and not take the focus off the future Joker, but being able to have that character involved in the creation of the Joker if they're going to go that route. On to the next story. What is DC doing? Are they still trying to make another Justice League movie? Well, I don't think it'll happen for a while, so Warner Brothers and DC can get their crap together. I do think that the super team will eventually get back together. The movies coming out like Aquaman and Wonder Woman 84 do fit together continuity-wise, even if the quote-unquote shared aspect of them is being toned down for the time being. This aspect doesn't seem to be dampering the spirits and excitement of one potential Justice Leaguer, Shazam! When asked how he'd feel if his character got to join the Justice League, Zachary Levi had this to say, and I'm not going to censor myself here. I would lose my shit if that happened. I would lose all of the shits. I remember thinking, if I get this, and if this movie does well enough, and if the Justice League does well enough, and they make another Justice League, maybe I'll get to be on that poster with all those guys. I'm expecting Warner Brothers to take the soft reboot approach to these franchises. Build up some separate franchises, maybe some crossover characters here and there, but not worry too much about the whole shared thing. They didn't want to be like Marvel, after all, right? Am I right? Eventually, you could bring those characters together again to fight Darkseid, who was teased in the first Justice League movie. Next story. What is DC doing? This is just a quick but important update for the DC Universe streaming service. It has been announced that the service will be $7.99 a month, or you can pay $74.99 annually, saving about $21 a year. The service will offer subscribers access to a massive archive of classic DC films, comic books, and TV shows, in addition to its planned original and animated and live-action series. It is set to launch sometime this fall, but they haven't released date, plus they haven't released any details on that beta testing either. Now, this is the story that I added, so bear with me. There was an interview with Henry Cavill, and he has said that he's commented on the Snyder Cut. And he says, quote, he doesn't think it will make any difference. Quote, I don't know if a Snyder Cut actually exists, so the only way I can look at it is as a business model, and I don't know what difference it's going to make. There are stories to be told which need to be told and adjustments that can be made, but that's not going to make any difference. I think it might be entertaining for sure and go, wow, now I've scratched that itch, but it's not going to change anything that I can think of. It's not going to make huge amounts of money all of a sudden for the studio. They're not going to release it in cinemas, and so they're not going to suddenly make an extra few $100 million. So it would be interesting to see what the difference is, but I'd rather focus on the future rather than what's been. So yeah, it doesn't. His thing is he doesn't think it would matter if they released the cut. That being said, they might have told him to say that, so who knows. Okay, next story, and I promise this is the last what is DC doing story in the main set of stories anyway. So what is DC doing? While there hasn't been any official word on Man of Steel 2 as of this podcast recording, remember Comic-Con is this weekend, Henry Cavill has put his 2 cents in on who he wants the villain to be if the movie gets made. When asked about who he'd want to see as the possible movie's villain, he said, quote, "I think a great villain would be Brainiac. That'd be a good villain to play against. Brainiac's a big threat. There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of storylines to him." Does that sound like a corporate answer to anybody else? With San Diego Comic-Con starting this weekend, many believe that Cavill already knows that this is happening. So he's trying to drum up some excitement before it becomes a possible announcement on DC's panel. All right, we're done with what's DC doing, at least in the main stories for now. So Marvel. Marvel is tempting me to buy comics again. We talked last week about what made me quit buying comics. I'm not going to go over that again, about my run-in with Joe Quesada and all that, and about me chucking a comic book across the room. You can listen to last week's podcast for that. But I think they may have heard me because they have announced the return of one of my favorite series ever, the What If series. Some of my favorites growing up were the What If stories. I just love what they did with it. It's like, it wasn't like an alternate universe per se. It was, well, if this happened instead of this is what would have happened. Some of my favorites in the What If series were the 2-parter, What If Cable had destroyed the X-Men, and What If Magneto took over the USA. Others were What If the Punisher became Captain America, which did actually happen later after Cap's death in the real comics, and What If Venom had possessed the Punisher, among others. Some of the new stories that they are bringing to the table sound fairly cool. There's stories like What If the Radioactive Spider bit Flash Thompson instead of Peter Parker? What If X-Men #1? There really isn't a lot about it, but the cover looks like it might be inspired by The Matrix and Ghost in the Shell, especially if you look at the outfit that Domino's wearing. She looks like Major from the new movie anyway. What if there's a What If Ghost Rider story, and there's an unknown plot for that one. And then also there's a What If Thor had been adopted by frost giants, because it has it to where the frost giants beat Odin instead of Odin beating them and adopting Loki. Well, the frost giants won and adopted Thor. So that's interesting. So this is all fine and good. And I'm happy it's back, but that's not what caught my eye. But one of the new What Ifs did. Those didn't, but this one did. What if after the death of Uncle Ben, Peter Parker became the Punisher? Of course, many of you know I'm a huge Punisher fan, so of course this caught my attention. The cover is inspired by The Punisher #1 from 1986, featuring a skull-chested, black-suited Spider-Man in the same pose that Frank was on that cover. It's like he's kind of in a defensive fallback position, firing away and getting fired at. What makes me curious about this one, along with it being a What If comic featuring another version of the Punisher, is how will Frank Castle be featured in this alternate reality? In some of the other What Ifs featuring the character, no matter what happens in his life, Frank Castle seems to be destined to be the Punisher. He seems to be destined, at least for part of his life, to be the Punisher. Whether or not he stays it was always part of the story, but he always seemed to be destined to punish the guilty. I'm curious to see what would happen to the character if someone else was wearing the skull. Because this looks like Peter Parker was still bit by the radioactive spider. He's Spider-Man. He's not Peter Parker in this picture. So I'm wondering if they're going to have him kill the criminal that got away from him, from the, that went by him at the wrestling match and then went and killed Uncle Ben, So who knows how they're going to do that. That just makes me really curious. Because Frank Castle's still going to be Frank Castle. None of that's changed as far as I know. Will I buy it? I don't know. But I do know that for the first time in a long time, I'm tempted to even buy a comic. So, there's that, Marvel. Touche, Marvel. Touche. Now we're going to be talking a little MMA, sorta. We're going to be talking about Conor, Khabib, and the World Cup. Now, many of you know that I'm a big MMA fan, and one fight that I'm very excited about the possibility of happening is Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now, we talked about the bus incident on this program where Conor and his entourage attacked a fighter bus that not only had Khabib on board, but other fighters as well. Some fights had to be canceled from the card of UFC 223 because of cuts from the shattered bus window glass. Of course, while Conor is still waiting to see if he's even going to get into trouble for the incident, this still hasn't stopped the UFC from dreaming of the massive payday that would come from a real rivalry that has already gone too far. Hell, this is a fight that I wanted to see way before the incident, but timing, injuries, and other situations have always kept it from happening. Now, we're not going to be talking about these two fighters in the cage, but rather both of them being at the World Cup final set in Moscow, Russia, and the strange circumstances of who was the very special guest of Vladimir Putin. Khabib could be seen in pictures and video being at the event in an autographed jersey, but oddly enough, he wasn't the guest of Putin. More on that in a second. With both men at the stadium, many expected them to come face to face, but it never happened. When asked about this, Khabib had this to say, and keep in mind, this is translated. Quote, "I thought I'd meet McGregor at the Letsniki Stadium, but even if we met now, we still will not be able to find out who is stronger. If there was a cage in the middle of the arena, it would be more interesting, and not something to find out on the street and so on. We are not at that age and not in that position. It would be ideal if there were no one around, or vice versa, to the full stadium in the middle of the cage, and in it, we. In general, I see no reason to approach him now. We are hospitable people. Let the football look, enjoy Russia." Like I said, it was translated, so if there was some stuff wrong there, I'm not Russian. Now on to Putin's honored guest, one Conor McGregor. Conor posted a picture of him and the Russian president on his Instagram page and said something that made me lose even more respect for him. While Conor's mouth has always kept him in the headlines, it used to be more entertaining than anything. And I used to really like the guy. I still want to see him fight, but he's kind of switched positions. Because it seems that Conor has started to enjoy saying and doing stupid things lately. On the post with the picture, he said this, quote, "Today I was invited to the World Cup final as a guest of Russian President Vladimir Putin. This man is one of the greatest leaders of our time, and I was honored to attend such a landmark event alongside him. Today was an honor for me, Mr. Putin. Thank you and congratulations on an amazing World Cup." Now, while I understand that he was being gracious to his host, do you think calling a man that rules by fear, murder, and hate one of the greatest leaders of our time is really a good idea? I don't really think I need to say anything more than that, right? Putting the politics to the side, the thing that really confuses me as a fan is that Khabib wasn't the guest of Putin. Khabib is the lightweight champion. The first Russian U.S. champion in history, by the way, who always talks about wanting to honor Russia with the title and defend it on Russian soil someday, yet Putin invites Conor as his guest? Much to my surprise, I have seen no articles asking Khabib about this. You'd think that would be insulting to someone with so much national pride. So So I just thought that was weird. It makes this possible fight even weirder. Even though I still want to see it. And now I have no notes on these next two segments, so bear with me. I want to talk about WWE Network Something Else to Wrestle's CM Punk episode. For those of you who don't know, there's a podcast called Something to Wrestle With by Bruce Pritchard, who, if you're a wrestling fan, you know he was Brother Love, and he was a long-time employee, WWE off and on, and with Conrad Thompson, who I'm honestly not really sure what his background is, but he does this podcast with Bruce Pritchard. And they have a televised weekly version that they're doing on the WWE Network. And this network always talks about controversy. We're bringing you the controversy, right? So I enjoy the program. I enjoy the stories that Bruce Pritchard knows. Conrad Thompson will ask Bruce Pritchard about something, and Bruce Pritchard will answer to the best of his knowledge. So for their season finale, they said they were going to do a CM Punk episode. And CM Punk, long story short, just won a lawsuit against WWE. Well, they were coming after him for defamation, and he won the lawsuit. They got nothing from him. And so they were doing a CM Punk episode, and what they kept talking about, we might get kicked off the air. And what happened was they did go through the career CM Punk, which I enjoyed that stuff. I enjoyed the whole program, but they got about when there's 3 minutes left, they go, but then there was a lawsuit and all this. We can't really talk about that. We don't know. I wasn't here when that happened, and we can't really speculate on it. You speculate on your program all the time. On the podcast version. So when it came to this, I just knew. I was talking with a buddy of mine before this. I said this before we knew there was going to be this episode. I said to him, I'm getting tired of him talking about controversy. Do a CM Punk episode and talk about everything. Then I will give you credit for controversy. I give them no credit. I mean, I think, of course, they were just trying to draw people in. Fine. But don't act like you're going to talk about stuff that's going to make the WWE mad. That's going to lose you your program. They probably wouldn't have just let them air the program because there was a delay on a program when they covered the WWE's version of ECW. And they said there was a delay, and I'll bet money it was the stuff about CM Punk. WWE didn't want that to happen. And, they, of course, didn't talk about anything controversial there either. So this just goes into, look, I will be a lifelong wrestling fan. I really am, and I will be. But I'm getting to that point in my life again, like I got in the early 90s, where I'm starting to just lose my interest because all I can see is a machine. When wrestling's at its best, and I'm not saying all the storylines were, say, the best in the Attitude Era, but in the Attitude Era wrestling, when wrestling was coming back, first with the NWO and WCW, and then with the Attitude Era and WWEF, whatever you want to call it, they were giving you more than just this. Well, this is what the WWE machine produces, where you've got these certain types of characters and these certain types of stories. They were throwing curveballs and things like that, and lots of title changes, and they were just trying a lot of different things, and they were crossing stories over and all sorts of cool stuff like that. And right now, WWE is in this funk, and I'm not saying the wrestling's not good, and I'm not saying the characters aren't good. I was so excited when Daniel Bryan came back, and I was looking forward to seeing what they were going to do with him. But I'm at this point where, and I've been at this point in the last few years, where if they don't do something to really shake things up, I mean, for crying out loud, NXT, which is a lot of developmental, some of the people that come in are already seasoned veterans. They kind of mix them together and they learn from each other and everything. when NXT is putting on better wrestling shows, less predictable wrestling shows, and more interesting storylines than the main roster is, it's hard to watch. I sat through that pay-per-view last Saturday or last Sunday, and like I said, I was pretty much right on everything. I picked every winner. I knew a lot of times how the match was going to end. It just got to this point where I'm just like, I'm bored. And then it's like they're afraid to try new things again. They got that way in the early 90s, and they've kind of been that way for a while since, I mean, yes, there's other competition out there, but no real competition like when WCW was around. And I'm just getting tired of the machine controlling everything. I'm tired of them controlling the narrative. I'm tired of them, and I know I mentioned this is probably going to be more about the CM Punk something else to wrestle. I'm just really disappointed in that, because it's just like a lot of their other documentaries and everything else. They control the narrative. And because they're the biggest game in town. And when I get tired of them saying they're going to talk about controversy, I'm tired of them saying that, you know, they're giving you alternatives and things like that, but it's just the same machine. And like the last few years, they've got till Mania to impress me. If by Mania, even if I get some things I want at Mania, I want The Miz and Daniel Bryan for the title in the main event. Ain't going to happen. It might happen at the show. If it doesn't happen sooner, I think they're going to waste it sooner. If they don't do something, even if they do a lot of the things I like, I think after this WrestleMania, I'm done with the network. I'm done with wrestling for all. I'm not saying I won't check up on it. I won't read up on it and things, because I always will. But I don't have, you know. Thankfully, they cut down the pay-per-view schedule. To now it's still just one a month unless they do a takeover or something with NXT. But they were doing 2 pay-per-views a month, and man, that's like 6 or 7 hours a month. Mania is a lot longer. They have the pre-show. There's just so much wrestling now that I don't have that kind of time. And if it's not entertaining me to where, and if you're entertained by it, cool. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you're getting what you want out of it. Me, I'm not. I'm not putting them down so much that no one should enjoy this. No, if you enjoy it, cool. I'm glad. But, I mean, we're seeing a lot of the same matches. They're predictable. They're not offering us the kind of programming they need to keep things new and fresh. And plus, when it's not all honest, when it comes to like a lot of their documentaries and stuff, I just can't take it anymore. You know, I was already mad at him about this whole Greatest Royal Rumble thing that we talked about a while back. And then, of course, trying to be, you know, bigger than life. And we set precedents, but our women can't wrestle in Saudi Arabia. And now they're talking about having an all-women show. Hey, cool. You know, like an all-women's like pay-per-view, like special. Hey, cool. I'm cool with that. I'm excited to see the Australia show. It's supposed to be the biggest show they've ever done. So I guess what this whole thing boils down to is I have other things in my life that are starting to take precedence over wrestling. And as much as I will always love wrestling, I may be getting to that point where I need a break until, like when the NWO came along in the 90s, I'm waiting. I need things to be shook up again before I can really get back into it. But hey, WWE got till Mania to prove me wrong and to keep me around. Now I want to talk about buzzwords and phrases. I hate buzzwords and phrases. Working in news, I hate buzzwords and phrases. I hate it in advertising. I hate it in stories. I hate it on YouTube. You know, there's some things on YouTube that kind of toe the line. I mean, I'm not totally against things like countdowns and things that there's real thought put into them, like rankings and things. I'm cool if there's a lot being put into it. Now, if it's something like Watch Mojo where it's just, let's throw some stuff together 14 times a day, no, you got to put real thought into these things. But I hate buzzwords and I hate phrases. I hate the words like exposed. And you know what? You know the words I'm talking about that you see on thumbnails. I can't. It drives me nuts. That's why I try not to use that stuff like on my thumbnails and everything. I try to keep my thumbnails simple. Use some fun art to promote it. But I just can't stand whenever it's like, here's this, here's this word, and this is what gets you, and people fall for that clickbait bullshit. There's channels out there. Look, I'm not saying that my channel should be the most successful channel in the world. If people don't like it, hey, I understand. Because I'm my own worst critic. I think my stuff sucks sometimes. But whenever people are clicking on that shit because it has a buzzword on it, it drives me bonkers. And again, if there's some things out there, there's channels out there, there's websites out there that do a good job at using that stuff, but have a good product, like on a countdown or something like that. There's a lot of thought put into it, but then again, a lot of it's just like, well, people like countdowns, people like, rankings, people like exposed videos, the stuff drives me nuts. I'm looking at Yahoo right now. And the reason I bring this up is because this is my 37th show. And when I'm researching for shows, I go through IMDb's news pages, I go through Yahoo's news pages, Den of Geek, a bunch of others. And what drives me nuts is when I'm researching stuff, and I run across so many sponsored, buzzwordy, clickbait bullshit. I'm looking at Yahoo right now, and I'm just going to go through. I haven't looked at this before today. I mean, I've seen it before, but I haven't been studying this. I've just pulled it up. Here's some of the ones that they have, and some of them make sense, like they'll be advertising a movie or something. But a lot of them are the 20 worst actors of all time. The heartbreaking reason why Aragorn passed away. Let's see, what else is there? Where are you at? Pink asked Eminem if he'd like to collaborate. And a lot of them, they put the wrong picture. It's not even who they're talking about. Like this one is fine. First pick, see the new Cars of 2018. Fine. Let's see what else we got. What do we got? Nurse takes things too far on Instagram. And here's a half-naked girl saying, flashing you. When I'm trying to search this stuff, horror characters unmasked. I mean, that might be a cool article, but it's still, they're using just like buzzwordy things like, here, look at this. Let's see. There's always like countdowns of how well do you remember such and such. Here's how well do you remember 80s cartoons. What else is there? There's always a bunch. Denzel Washington finally confirms the rumors, and it's a picture of him with his arm around Drake, maybe implying that he's his dad. I don't know, but they want you to click on it. Here's a good one. John Hamm finally confirms the big one. This stuff drives me bonkers when I see this, because when I'm trying to research stuff, now what really drove me nuts is I saw an article that, before I knew kind of what they were doing, I saw an article that said John Cena's caught with steroids. First of all, this stuff is like slander. He's never been proven to have steroids as far as I know. I mean, if he ended up being on steroids, would it surprise me? Maybe not, if you've seen some of his older like bodybuilding pictures, but from what I understand, he's been clean. So, A, good for him. B, them saying that is kind of slanderous. So yeah, there's just all this crap when I'm trying to do research, and for a second you think you've got something, or you're on YouTube and you think you found something interesting, and it ends up being the same clickbaity bullshit that is A, making people money, and B, wasting good web space for good stories. Some of the ones that really drive me nuts are the the ones that you should see so and so now. You'll cringe at what they look like, or you can't believe what this person looks like 40 years later. I'm not seeing that one right now, but it's always on here. So yeah, I don't know. I just needed to rant a little bit because I'm tired of looking at YouTube and seeing all this clickbait crap that takes up good space from. Like I said, I'm not necessarily referring to me, but just you know there's better stuff out there, but it's buried under this crap, and it drives me bonkers. And I needed to rant about it. So anyway, thank you for letting me rant about it. I just needed to get that off my chest because it was annoying the hell out of me. Let's move on to quick hits. Sony has released a bunch of release dates and date changes. They have moved the release date of Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood up 2 weeks to July 26, 2019. The newly announced Zombieland 2 will come out October 11th, 2019, and Little Women, the remake, or reimagining, or whatever it is, will open around Christmas 2019. This next one makes me pretty happy. White Boy Rick will now be getting a wide release instead of the previously announced limited run, but it will keep its September 14th release date. Slender Man moves up 2 weeks to August 10th, and John Cho's new movie Searching to August 24th. I'm looking forward to that one too. While Breaking Bad characters have been no stranger to the spinoff show Better Call Saul, the creators of the show have said that the 4th season of Saul could see the characters entering into the Breaking Bad timeline. Co-showrunner Vince Gilligan had this to say, quote, "We have a subplot that very squarely gets into Breaking Bad territory and brings us into the world, or at least points us on a path toward the world of Walter White." I can't wait for folks to see that. Gilligan has also previously said he wants to find a way to get Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul to reprise their roles on Better Call Saul. Here we go. What is DC doing? Quick Hits edition. Warner Brothers have announced that The Dark Knight will be returning to IMAX screens in honor of its 10th anniversary, but not for everybody. In a move that is set to piss off fans of the movie, I'm sure, only 4 theaters are getting the limited 1-week release. AMC Universal City Walk IMAX Universal City, AMC Lincoln Square IMAX in New York, AMC Metreon IMAX San Francisco, and Ontario Place Cinesphere IMAX in Toronto. So yeah, sorry, you want to see The Dark Knight, you have to watch it at home. Did you know that The Equalizer 2 is not a sequel? At least that's what Denzel Washington is saying. He had this to say, quote, "You know, everybody keeps using that word, sequel. Instead of thinking of it as a sequel, it's a story without an ending, and it's open-ended, so here we are." Fine, Denzel, call it what you want as long as it's entertaining. I'm going to find out in less than 2 hours. A series based on Anne Rice's The Vampire Chronicles has been put into development at Hulu. The series is set to follow the vampire Lestat de Lioncourt, who serves as hero, anti-hero, and narrator of the show. There's no word if the show will follow the books or if they'll have their own original stories. Nickelodeon is reviving the animated kid series Rugrats with a 26-episode order and a live-action film based on the series as well. The film will be a live-action movie with CGI characters. That won't be creepy at all, will it? The movie has a November 13th, 2020 release date. Warner Brothers is developing a Wizard of Oz movie based on Toto's perspective of the events. The movie is based on the children's book Toto, the Doggone Amazing Story of the Wizard of Oz by Michael Morpurgo. Christopher Lloyd was asked in an interview if a 4th Back to the Future movie should be made. He had this to say, quote, "Well, I think it's a matter of, first of all, it's important if Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale are excited about doing another episode of Back to the Future. I think really the most important thing is if they can come up with the right idea. I think that's the challenge. I think that's the challenge, is to come up with something that really is as good as the originals. I suppose it could happen. I have not heard that they're looking for that if they've made up their minds. Hey, here's something we could do, and they believed in it, then they might get going to do it." Now, do I think a part 4 will happen? I think I'll just steal this lyric from Biff actor Tom Wilson's Question song that he performs at his shows. Back to the future for not happening. Marvel head honcho Kevin Feige was asked about the future of Avengers movies, and he had this to say, quote, storylines can come to an end. The best stories do come to an end. Return of the Jedi was an ending for a long time, and as a 10-year-old in 1983, that carried me through 30 years until there was a sequel. That hasn't happened before in the superhero genre. A new actor comes in and then a new storyline starts right away. We wanted to do it this way because we think that the best stories have a definitive ending to a storyline. That's certainly what's going to happen next year with Avengers 4. The universe, the world, and many of the characters we've introduced will continue onward in unexpected ways, some of which I don't even know yet, but bringing a definitive conclusion at the 22 film mark and just over 10 years seemed like the right thing to do. So what you're saying is that it's the end, but it's not? Just leave it at that. I don't want to know anymore. There has been an age-long debate that will never seem to go away. That debate: is Die Hard a Christmas movie? My argument: yes. Yes, it is. Listen to the soundtrack. Now I have a machine gun, ho, ho, ho. It's a Christmas party. Trying to get home to his family at Christmas. Has a present for his kids. It's a Christmas movie. But at his own Comedy Central roast, Bruce Willis has tried to set the record straight in his own head anyway. He said, it's a damn Bruce Willis movie. Okay. The Rock says that he isn't too sure if he will be returning for Fast and Furious 9. What we do know is that the release date was pushed back a year from April 19, 2019 to April 10, 2020 to make room for the Rock and Jason Statham spinoff Hobbs and Shaw, which is set to hit theaters July 26, 2019. The Rock says, quote, will I be in Fast 9? I'm not quite too sure. I think they're still working on that script now, so I don't know. Kind of up in the air. Given that The Rock and Statham overshadowed Diesel in his own movie last time, and the beef between The Rock and The Vin, I'm going to say the answer is no. There are rumors that Unfriended Dark Web has 2 different endings, and there's no way of knowing which one you'll see when you go to theaters. And I'm still not going to go see it twice to find out. Way to welcome piracy to theaters, Blumhouse. Nobody's gonna see the sequel to a crappy movie twice just to see another ending. If anyone sees it, go ahead and spoil the endings in the comment section below. So, are they going to be excellent to each other or not? According to Keanu Reeves, the announced Bill and Ted Face the Music might not happen after all. He said, quote, I don't know if it's a reality. We've been trying for a long time to get that film made, and it still has its challenges. He has said that the problems aren't creative ones, but rather financial ones. He said, I really love the characters, and I think we have a good story to tell. Part of it is show business stuff, financing, rights, deals, etc. Nothing creatively. There'd be a lot about Ted that would be the same, I'm sure. His kind of blind optimism in the face of the darkness will still be there. He has a child now, so I'm sure he's matured. I, for one, really want to see this movie happen. I love the idea that they have. HBO has picked up the new sci-fi series The Nevers from creator Joss Whedon, and many are even now more mad at him now than ever that his new TV project wasn't a return of Firefly. Lastly, there is only one Blockbuster video store left in the United States. A short time ago, there was only 3 left in the country, 2 in Alaska and 1 in Oregon, and now the 2 in Alaska are closing. In all seriousness, I'm sorry for those that are losing their jobs over this, but in joking, I wonder what's going to become of Russell Crowe's jockstrap from Cinderella Man that was donated to one of the Alaska stores by Last Week Tonight's host, John Oliver. That's the end of Quick Hits. Again, there's not going to be a small YouTuber spotlight this week. Again, I need your help. So do you want to be the subject of a smaller YouTuber spotlight? If you'd like me to take a look at your channel, comment in the section below. Put the link. If you know of channels, if it's your channel, I need your help. Again, YouTube makes it so difficult to search for smaller channels. So if you've got one you want me to look at, or you know of a good one, please put the link in the section below. Again, I'm looking for gaming channels, movie channels, TV channels, Comedy is a good one. It's stuff that I talk about on my channel, and things that you'd think that I'd be interested in. You know, look, I'm not opposed to things like makeup channels and things like that. But you know, that's not me. That's not what I'm into. So if it's something you think I'd be into, please put the link in the comment section below. I also want to remind everyone of the Indiegogo campaign for another Cinema Snob movie. My friend Brad, the Cinema Snob, is his campaign's going okay. They're a little over halfway there money-wise, but there's less than 20 days to go as of the taping of this podcast. I'd really like to see this movie get made. Anything Brad puts his mind and effort into is always worth it. He puts his all into everything. He's one of those YouTubers that doesn't really rest on his laurels. He likes to keep improving and doing better and cooler things. And like I said, I for one want to see this movie happen. So if you want to help get another Cinema Snob movie made, that's the official title of the sequel. I'll put the link to the Indiegogo campaign in the description below. A bit of a channel update. Watch over this weekend. Talking Movies will return with reviews for Leave No Trace, The Equalizer 2, Unfriended Dark Web. Great. This one, Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, and maybe some others if I've got time. Gino's Bad at Games is continuing, hopefully this weekend. I started to play through Star Wars The Force Unleashed. I started a new segment called Crossing Streams. What that segment is anytime, instead of having a, here's talking Hulu and talking Amazon and talking this and talking that, if it's a streaming TV show, I'll put it under the segment of Crossing Streams. The first thing I put up there was on Rivet TV is the pilot for Kevin Smith's new show Hollyweed. So that was my first Crossing Streams review. To find any video that I've been involved in, or videos from those either officially or unofficially under the GB3 umbrella, make sure to check out the GB3 Family playlist on my channel. I like to point this one out. I found an older video filmed at Anime St. Louis years ago, where I took part in a mock casting call for the Transformers movie. This is also the same convention that I met Brad at the first time. So if you want to see me embarrass myself, check out the playlist for that video on my channel. Also, I encourage you to follow me on Twitter and Facebook, probably mostly just Twitter, because honestly, I'm almost done with Facebook. I'm so sick of them. You can follow me at the Reel Geno, just same as the channel, ReelGeno. That way you can get the latest channel news from me and from my partnership with the Heisenerd. And of course, I want to draw your attention to the Geek BQ channel. I'm working on maybe doing where Bill and I went versus in a contest. Being that I'm not very good at trivia, I may be the host next time. We'll have the Heisenerd Bill and Mrs. Heisenerd Danielle go one-on-one in a trivia contest. We're working on that. It's gonna take me a little while to put that together. Also, I want to draw your attention to Heisenerd's channel. He's been playing through a Metroidvania style game called Hollow Knight, and also last Monday we got together to play the NES version of Cabal. So make sure to check that out. That's going to be all for the program this week. Again, I want to remind everyone that if you know smaller YouTubers or you are a smaller YouTuber, I'm looking for under 2,000 subscribers. Mainly, I'd rather it be closer to 1,000. But, I mean, 2,000 is small in this day and age. Heck, a lot of people consider 10,000 small. So if you know of any channels or you are one of those channels, please in the description below put a link to your channel so I can take a look at it. But that's going to be all for this week. I got to get running. I got to leave town because, again, Unfriended Dark Web is not coming to Decatur, so I got to go to Springfield tonight to see it, and The Equalizer 2. I'll be seeing Mamma Mia tomorrow. I'll be heading to St. Louis to see Teen Titans Go to the Movies early on Saturday. And also, if I can make it back to Springfield in time, I'm going to go see Sorry to Bother You as well. So I got a lot going on. So anyway, that's going to be all for Get on the Mic this week. As always, I am your host, the Reel Geno Reels. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Reel Geno YouTube channel, like or dislike this video, and comment in the comment section below. Till next time, I'll see you later. Peace.